Alright guys, we're going to be previewing the future of the AFC conference. In my opinion, it's the strongest conference to the NFC. I think it's close, but to me, I think the AFC has the youngest teams, the most talented futures for sure. I don't think that is close. So, let's look, other than the Dallas Cowboys on the NFC, but, I'm not going to get it, we'll just move on. So, to start, I guess we'll cut this down into divisions. We'll start with the AFC East. Now, whatever I say in this video, you can take with a grain of salt because I am a diehard Dolphins fan. I'm going to try to be as biased as I possibly can. I promise you. I'm going to give every team a fair shake here, even though I hate the Jets, Bills, and Patriots with all my heart. I'm going to still talk to you guys, but again, take whatever I say with a grain of salt. So, let's start with the AFC East. Obviously, the New England Patriots, they're in the Super Bowl. There's not much they can improve on. With their football team, they're one of the better teams in the NFL. They were all year. It's hard for me to admit that. Obviously, one of the most underratedly talented teams. A lot of people underestimate how talented that team is. I don't understand it. Obviously, when healthy, they're even better than they are right now. They're not 100% healthy. But, they made crazy trades, like to get Eric Rowe, Van Noy from Detroit, and obviously Philly for Eric Rowe. They know how to build the roster to have success within the scheme. It's just a machine, man. It's basically all I can explain it. They don't really have great drafts ever. It's interesting how they trade around certain players, and they're almost seriously all of their players are system players. We've seen that in the past with their quarterbacks, even some of their defensive players. Obviously, they have been system players, and it's amazing what they do. I don't think we'll see anything like it ever again. The dominance to go to 6 straight AFC Championship games is it's obviously unheard of, and I don't think that's ever gonna. I don't think we're gonna see that kind of dominance ever again, ever. It would be hard. It's hard to imagine that actually happened in real life, and that's not in some Madden connected franchise or something like that. So we're gonna go in order here by wins losses. And the next is the Miami Dolphins. Now, I think we have a bright future. Even looking at this unbiasedly, we have one of the brightest futures in the NFL, in my opinion. We just got to make a few moves to shore up that defense. If we get a top 12 to top 10 or top 15, I'm not going to say top 15, but even if we get a top 15 defense, I think we can definitely win a playoff game this upcoming season, and I think we can make some noise in the playoffs. Depending on how we handle the linebacker situation, obviously, how we handle our depth, I think we have to upgrade the depth as much as we possibly can. Injuries really kill us, especially on the offensive line. We can shore those things up. I think we can I think we could be one of the best teams in the AFC. We obviously have an extremely good young triplet on offense. Obviously, it could even be a quadruplet for God's sakes. We got DP, we got Kenny, Juice, Jay, who's become one of the best running backs in the NFL. This offensive line, if they can stay healthy, we're one of the best teams in the NFL. If that offensive line can stay healthy, our offense will dominate. And I think even if we add the depth that we need there, and I've talked about this. This is like something I've talked about 1,000 times. I do think we need to replace Jermon Bushrod at guard because he's very inconsistent. If we can get some of those things shored up and add some depth to this football team, I think we have so many great young players. You have players like Xavier Howard, Kenyon Drake, Leonte Crew, who I think is going to have a tremendous second season in the NFL. I think we can be a very, very formidable team. So moving on from us, we can go to the Buffalo Bills here, and obviously the triple. I'm going to say the triplets right here. Tannehill, Juice, and Jay. Those are our triplets. I don't think I said that before, just to be clear. So let's moving on to the Buffalo Bills. This organization has really messed up this franchise. It's like if you look at the roster and you look at the franchise. I read this article. I think it was on NFL.com by Greg Rochelle. I don't know how to say his name. He's a Patriots fan. He should say every time he writes an article, should take everything with a grain of salt. I am a Patriots fan. Anyway, he says that this team has a lot of talent on it. They have a big offseason. They have one of their best players, Stephon Gilmore. He's going to be a free agent. Very underrated player. One of the best man coverage guys in the NFL. So they have a huge offseason where they have to retain him, especially because that's one of the strengths of their team is their secondary. Not so much everything else, but this organization has really weighed the Buffalo Bills down. They have they had an offense going on there that was very prolific. They had the number one rushing offense in the NFL, which is extremely hard to do, and it's extremely hard to do to have a number one in anything in the NFL. And they have a quarterback who is a playmaker, not a very good pocket passer. Understand, needs to get the ball out of his hands quicker. His feet are terrible. His feet, just watching him play, it's like watching a 7-on-7 football game. This dude's sitting here standing up. He's not moving on his feet at all. But like Tyrod Taylor is I think is good. I mean, he's fine. I don't know. Like he can definitely bring you to the playoffs. He's not losing you games, that's for sure. You definitely can take him to the playoffs. For sure. I think he's better than Alex Smith is. So I mean, I don't know. That organization is really jacking them up real hard. It really is. Benching. But first of all, the fact that you have uncertainty at the quarterback position is just stupid. I don't know what that has to. I don't know. It's just that organization is bad right now. It really is bad. They have a talented offense, have a talented defense. They're gonna have to retain some players this offseason. But they have old players like Kyle Williams. He's getting up there in age. He seems like an ageless wonder, but he's getting old, man. And they have a lot of problems in that organization. Not a lot of consistency. Very short with coaches. Can't build anything. You gotta let it build, man. We dealt with Joe Philbin for like almost 5 crapping years, for God's sakes. A long time. Okay, you deal with that a long time. You can deal with Rex Ryan for 5 crapping years, for God's sakes. You deal with that kind of bad coaching. It wasn't even bad coaching. The organization is so disjointed. Like so many organizations in the NFL. How are you gonna have success when you don't let anything just marinate? I guess you could say. You gotta let them build their teams, man. You can't just let. I mean, they're taking over a team that they didn't draft. Most of the players on the team they didn't draft. They didn't build this roster. You gotta give it time, man. And it's tough, man. If you're not a wonder boy as a head coach in the NFL today, you're not gonna last 2 to 3 years, not even 2 years, for God's sake. You saw the Chip Kelly. I mean, for God's sakes. Oh, this doesn't make any sense to me. But we're lucky as Dolphins fans that we have Adam Gase, who is a complete and utter animal, beast. If the Buffalo Bills can find some continuity and can crap and consistency within their organization, maybe they have a chance. But like I said, they have to do some things in this offseason, man, or they're just going to go even farther downhill. So let's move on to the New York Jets. This is another one with Woody Allen. Did I say Woody Allen? I'm crapping stupid and crazy. The New York Jets, they are probably the worst team in the AFC East. They're definitely the worst team in the AFC East. A lot of things went wrong with them. The leadership issue, their locker room issue. I like Todd Bowles. Is he a good head coach or is he a great coordinator? That's definitely in question. I don't know. I'm not gonna judge him. Obviously, he's coming on his first year in the league, 10-6. They have quarterback issues, which is, if you have a quarterback problem right now, not gonna last long. You're not going to be consistent. You're not going to go to the playoffs. They have a lot of other issues. They're aging on offensive line. They're big time aging on offensive line. They're aging at running back. They're an old team. They built their team last season to win now. It did not work. They built it over the last 2 seasons, really trying to get Brandon Marshall. They got him. Eric Decker, a little bit younger. You could definitely build something with him still. Not so much Brandon Marshall for sure, and definitely not with Darrelle Revis, who wants another contract, which is insane to me. That even if they give him a contract, that's one of the dumbest moves in NFL history. The amount of deterioration that Darrelle Revis experienced this past season, with Marquise Goodwin scoring touchdowns on him, that's not the same Revis Island that we have seen over his career. So they have a lot of issues that they have to figure out, and they have talented young players. It's just they built something to win now. It didn't work out. They thought Ryan Fitzpatrick was the answer. I don't know if they so much thought he was the answer, but I think they thought he could definitely hold down the fort for people like Bryce Petty and Hackenberg to come in and learn under him. It didn't work out. Obviously, Geno Smith definitely didn't work out, and they got to figure it out. They got to tear that down and build it back up for sure. They have cornerstone pieces, people like people like Leonard Williams, Darren Lee, who I think has got a bright future in the NFL. They have people there. They have young talent there. They have Bilal Powell, who's a little older. But yeah, they have pieces. It's just that they need to hurry up and hit that reset button, because you guys cannot expect, okay, we have a competitive team. Can't do that. Or you're gonna have a even longer process. Which just gotta hit that button now, get it over with, really. Okay, on to the AFC North, which is this is such an interesting division. This is gonna be a long episode. We're doing this for the NFC. I think in 2 days that video will be out. But this is for the AFC, and just sit here, listen to it like it's a podcast, man. That's all you got to do. You just got to listen to it like it's a podcast. So on to the AFC North. The Pittsburgh Steelers obviously making it to the AFC Championship. One of the weakest AFC Championship teams in recent memory. You compare them to the Patriots last year and the Denver Broncos. That team loses to both of those teams. Obviously, they have Big Ben's future, that's a mystery right now. Not a lot of people knowing what's going on with that. So they got a lot of stuff they have to figure out for sure. It's gonna be tough. Because if Big Ben retires, who do you have to back him up? You got Landry Jones, who is definitely not a starting quarterback in the NFL. They're just getting young. They're really young on defense, and their defense is kind of coming together right now. And to ruin that with Big Ben retiring, that definitely takes away a Super Bowl contender out of the AFC and out of the NFL. So it's going to be interesting to see what Big Ben does. I think they have, again, they're another one. Bud Dupree, Artie Burns, especially Bud Dupree, who's definitely finding his feet. They have a good corner who has a bright future in the NFL in Artie Burns. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there in the offseason. It's going to be very interesting because it could flip the food chain real quick if Big Ben retired. So on to the Baltimore Ravens, who had a good season. They kind of fell off at the end there for sure. Obviously, they were competing at a point. They were competing for the division title with the Steelers, and obviously Antonio Brown shut that up real quick. They are losing one of their best receivers in Steve Smith. Probably their best over these last few years. Obviously, Brashard Perryman, they're hoping can probably take that torch and keep going with it. They haven't had success drafting receivers. Ozzie Newsome. But they have an interesting team. They have a big free agency coming up with Brandon Williams, who's going to be a free agent. They're aging a little bit. Marshall Yonda really getting up there in age. They have young players like C.J. Mosley. Obviously, Terrell Suggs is getting up there in age, so they're definitely looking for Eric Weddle. I don't feel like they built a roster to win now, but it kind of felt like that last year. They're getting they have a good talent. They have good talent at running back right now. So they have some good young talent there. I think receiver is definitely a place to watch. Do they have a true number one receiver who can get you 100 yards, and who can get you 1,200 a season? I don't know if they have that, but we'll see. We'll see. Definitely see. But they have a talented defense. C.J. Mosley, one of the better linebackers in the NFL. Eric Weddle's not going anywhere this upcoming season. It's not like he's just going to drop off. So they have a really good defense. Terrell Suggs, fully expect. He lost a lot of weight. Looks really healthy. He's not going anywhere this upcoming season. So they still have a very good defense. Like I said, Brandon Williams was a big reason why that run defense was so good. So look out for that. On to the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Cincinnati Bengals had a very... I'm not saying this, if you're a Bengals fan, I'm not saying this to bash you, but I was kind of waiting for this to happen. I thought this was going to happen 2 seasons ago, where I didn't think you guys were going to make the playoffs. It kind of hit you guys real hard this season. Obviously, offensive line struggles. Andy Dalton really took a pounding this past season, and it really just kind of fell apart. You guys really missed Mohamed Sanu and Marvin Jones. That was kind of stupid that you let those guys go. Your defense really struggled, re-signing Adam Jones. I remember wanting Adam Jones. I'm glad we didn't do that. I'm really glad we didn't do that. Obviously you still have AJ Green. You still have a young backfield, Giovanni Bernard and Jeremy Hill. You still have Andy Dalton, who can definitely, he's proven over his career, he can bring you to the playoffs. I definitely think he can, I think he can take you guys far. And no, he definitely can win you guys a playoff game, but I think you guys have some rebuilding to do there. I think you guys tried to replace the presence of Marvin Jones Mohamed with Tyler Boyd. It didn't really work out very well. And yeah, so I don't know. I don't think that you guys are contenders this upcoming season. You've got people like Zettler, who's a free agent. You guys have a really big offseason this upcoming offseason, so I don't see the Cincinnati Bengals going anywhere. There's too many teams that are better and improved so much. Unless, you know, certain teams obviously got injured, but there's so many talented young teams in the AFC right now. Really don't see the Bengals being a contender this upcoming season. That would surprise me if they were. The Cleveland Browns. Now, I forgot to mention the cornerstones on defense. Obviously, have people like Geno Atkins, Carlos Dunlap, Vontaze Burfict. So they have players, but I just don't think. I think just there's so many young talented teams in the AFC right now. I just don't see them being one of those guys that are in the thick of it come December. And then we're going to go to the Cleveland Browns, who, they had a very unfortunate season at quarterback position for sure. Injuries really hurt them. Really disappointing that, you know, RG3 didn't get to play a whole season under Hugh Jackson. That was disappointing. They had a really good young draft. Like people like Carl Nassib. He had a good year. Corey Coleman, who's got a very bright future there in Cleveland. So they made the trade for Jamie Collins, who's a beast. So they have cornerstones there. Danny Shelton I think he had a better season this season than he did his rookie year. So they have a bright future, even though that was one of the worst draft picks. He is not a 3-down player, and you do not draft a 3-down player that high. So if he can't play all 3 downs, why are you drafting him that high? Doesn't make any sense. But anyway, they have a young, talented roster there with Duke Johnson in the backfield, Isaiah Crowell, who's one of the better running backs and a stacked AFC. He led the AFC in rushing. I think a couple times there. And they have obviously Terrell Pryor, who they have to retain. Not sold on Terrell Pryor. I was a big advocate of his in the offseason. I was like, yeah, this kid's he's gonna have a good season. People like Solomon Wilcox and people like that, they reported on it really early on. And they were right, man. He had a very good season. Barely getting 1,000, but that's impressive for somebody who used to be a quarterback in the NFL, by the way, a starting quarterback, formerly of the Oakland Raiders. So yeah, they have a bright young future. If they can keep Hugh Jackson around for 4 good years, they're going to be a contender. They just have to keep him there. And then again, another reason the Bengals fell off the earth was because of Hugh Jackson. Hugh Jackson really made Andy Dalton an elite quarterback. Somebody people feared. And he feared that offense, man. It was a wacky offense. It was a crazy offense. Something like, you know, stacking here, stacks there. It was crazy offense, man. And yeah, that was a big reason the Bengals fell off the face of the earth. Was because of Huey there. He's a very, very good head coach. So they just need to keep him around. Good, solid 4 years. They're going to be a contender. Houston Texans. Now, the Houston Texans had a really, 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 really easy road to the playoffs, and I wish I was in their division. Just to give you guys kind of an example, they went 9-7. They beat an Oakland Raiders team that their crapping third-string quarterback and Connor Cook was starting. Didn't take any reps at all through the season until obviously the last couple of weeks, for God's sakes. And that was one of the easiest playoff games. I think that may have been the easiest win in NFL playoff history. That Raiders team was their strength was not defense. It was that offense. That team doesn't get enough credit for being a ball control offense, for God's sakes. They ran the ball down your throat. Okay, they didn't just pass it all over the place. They ran it down your throat. And they controlled the ball. That defense was weak. That secondary was weak. The bright spot was that front seven with Bruce Irvin coming off the edge and Khalil Mack coming after your quarterback. They have good young players like Carl Joseph's in the secondary, who had a pretty good season. Reggie Nelson's really overrated. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's kind of turned into a Raiders talk thing for some reason. I don't know why, but oh yeah, because we're talking about the game. But anyway, just to give you guys a kind of an example here. So their road record compared to their divisional record, which means the games that they played in their division, it's crap and disgusting. And they have, you know what, credit to Bill O'Brien to bringing that team to the playoffs. They obviously made huge moves. And here, we're going to break this down because this ticks me off. This really upsets me because of the lack. Okay, so just take this in perspective. Let's dream for a second here. Before the season starts, everybody was talking about the Texans. They got Will Fuller. They got Braxton Miller. They needed that number 2 guy to go with D-Hop there. They needed a quarterback, so they went out and they got Brock Osweiler. But they added all these pieces. They got Lamar Miller. They got rid of injury-prone Arian Foster. The roster has firepower. They have Alfred Blue as a backup quarterback. This offense has a ton of firepower. How in the world? This is ridiculous. How in the world do you look at Brock Osweiler? And I don't think anybody in the NFL, I don't think fans, anybody thinks he's a starting quarterback in the NFL, because he's not. He's the farthest thing from it. But that is how bad this guy is. They have a young, talented offense. They should have been throwing it, and I know Bill O'Brien's offense comes from a kind of short passing scheme there. Not like just going to throw it, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you can have a methodical offense, but you still can take deep shots. I mean, this team has a lot of talent on it. DeAndre Hopkins, one of the most disappointing, following up probably arguably the best receiver of that year. He wasn't. I think Antonio Brown was, but he was close. At least you could have an argument about it, for God's sakes. And to follow that up with the season that he had just proves, and this is a little rant, just proves how bad Brock Osweiler is. When Tom Savage takes over and Tom Savage is doing better, I'm starting to get stressed out just even thinking about it. Back to my original point. Okay, so they were really good at home. They were 7-1. On the road, they were 2-6. Within the division, they were 5-1, guys. 5-1, dude. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So if we just minus, oh my God. Basically, what I'm saying is if they didn't play within their division, it would be a tough day. Let's just put it that way. It would be a very tough day. So, and again, in conference play, they were 7-5. Within non-conference play, they were 2-2. Okay, that's not good at all. They were a decent home. They were a good home team. They barely lost at home. They only lost one game. But the Texans are a conundrum. They need a quarterback. They need to make a play for Tony Romo to make that team a contender. And I'm talking about a legit contender, not taking advantage of a terrible division. Okay? You put that Texans team, their defense is for real. Don't get me wrong. That defense can win you games. But that offense is Rams level because of their quarterback, not because of the talent. If you put Jared Goff on that team, he wins crap in Rookie of the Year. Okay, maybe he doesn't win Rookie of the Year, but he would be in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. So let's go to the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans are a very good team. They're very good. I'm talking about for future. They have one of the better. And you know what, man? Tyler Lewan, that offensive line, they have something going with that offensive line. It's like a team of the 70s. This offensive line will come at you and beat you up. They're an extremely good ball control offense. They have the perfect system down there for what they want to do. They have the quarterback that's athletic off the bootleg. They have the tight end to be extremely effective hitting the seams off the play action, off the bootleg, going across the field. They have that guy in Delaney Walker, who's one of the most underrated players in the NFL. One of the things that they need is a number 1 wide receiver. Rashard Matthews isn't good enough. That's for sure. Marcus Mariota needs help. And he's got a bunch. I'm not saying he needs help. He just needs a number 1 wide receiver because he's got help with DeMarco Murray, Derrick Henry backing him up. That offensive line is one of the better ones in the NFL, and they have a bright future. Their defense probably could use some help. The secondary, I wouldn't say in the front 7 because obviously Jarrell Casey Derek Morgan and crapping Brian Arakpo is pretty impressive. But that secondary, yeah, it needs some help. If we go to the Indianapolis Colts, who built... Now, let's take it back, because this could be a rant all of its own. This video is going to be forever. But this is a rant of all of its own. So let's take it back here. Let's dream about an NFL that was years ago, where the Colts get people like Frank Gore, Andre Johnson. Okay, they're getting these old Hall of Fame caliber players who a lot of people thought after they got these guys, because everybody's like, oh, you gotta get a running back. They thought that they had that, and they did. And this is not Frank Gore's fault. But they got old, and they built a team that needed to win that season, and they are paying the price for it, big time, man. Reggie Wayne has one of the better quotes of this offseason, where obviously the Colts fired their GM, and Reggie Wayne said, why didn't they do it earlier? He's 100% correct. Why didn't they? It is disgusting of the job that they have done down there in Indianapolis. They have hits. Okay, Jeff Ireland had hits, for God's sakes. That doesn't mean you're good. Dennis Hickey had hits. Doesn't mean you're good. He had hits like, obviously, Andrew Luck, which is a no-brainer. They have hits like T.Y. Hilton, which is less of a no-brainer. But they have misses like Philip Dorsett, who is still on, obviously, could still be good. And I like Philip Dorsett, former U player. To the Jacksonville Jaguars, back to the Colts really quick because I didn't think I spent enough time on them. If they get an offensive line, if they can find a young stud at running back, if they can somehow, and this is going to take years, by the way. It's amazing how this team went 8-8, for God's sakes. If they can somehow get that defense on track, people like Vontae Davis, he's no longer a number one guy at all. They have to redo that whole defense for sure. That's got to be a priority. That's going to take years, by the way, because that team just needs a whole new makeover, and it sucks because it's going to waste Andrew Luck's career doing this. This is going to take at least 3 to 4 years to at least make them a Super Bowl contender. Even longer than that. I would say 5 good years of roster building. Maybe not that long. That's a little long. That's half of a decade. So, that's a little long. But it's going to take a while. Is my point. And back to the original play, the Jacksonville Jaguars. So again, let's pump the brakes. So let's talk about before the season started and what the Jacksonville Jaguars did. They drafted one of the hottest players on the market, they signed one of the hottest players on the market. Let's listen to this free agency for a second, okay? They got Marcel Darius, Malik Jackson, okay? They go out, they get Prince Umukamara, they get Deshaun Gibson. And you're looking at this free agency, and you're like, dang, man, those are some solid pickups. Those are some solid pickups. Let's look at their draft. They drafted Jalen Ramsey, okay, who is a beast, and he was a lockdown corner in his first season. Okay, you look at that, you're like, dang, Jacksonville. Then in the second round, guess who they get? Miles Jack. Now, at the time, before Miles Jack, obviously all the knee problems and all this other stuff, was projected to be a top 15 pick. I wanted Miles Jack so bad. He's look at all the UCLA linebackers in the NFL. Eric Kendricks, Anthony Barr. The next big thing was going to be Miles Jack. He could be just as good as Anthony Barr, and he could have been better than Eric Kendricks, which is saying that is saying so much. Look at do you know how good Anthony Barr is? Okay? And you see that and you're like, whoa, man. You're like, dang. Obviously, they signed Chris Ivory, who I said to my friend's a Jacksonville fan, I said, dude, Chris he sucks. He's not, that is a straight coming from a team that won 10 games, obviously. He is a number 2 running back, for sure. But you look at all those moves, and you think they have Allen Robinson, who just comes off an all-pro season. They have Allen Hurns. Both of them, I think, hit 1,000. You have Blake Bortles, who is the king of garbage time stats, but you think, okay, maybe he can take that next step, and he can win games. And we saw it. Obviously, Julius Thomas, who was a past free agent signing, that was obviously not this past offseason, but a lot of people thought, some people picked these guys to go to the playoffs. Okay, people like people who are very smart know the NFL pick these guys to go 10-6 and make the playoffs. And I don't know, man. That team, Gus Bradley, I guess that goes to show you how bad Gus Bradley is. Blake Bortles his development I think that's ruined his career. I don't know if you can salvage any, dude. It would take a miracle. And I like Blake Bortles. I think he could have been a very good quarterback in this league. He puts up big numbers. He picked in his second year, threw over 30 touchdowns, threw a ton of picks. He turns the ball over way too much, and a lot of those came in garbage time. And it's to the point that I just don't know, man. The future is so murky there, because you think. It's kind of bright. The window has been opened, I will say, for Jacksonville fans. You hire Tom Coughlin, you get Doug Marrone, who did a fantastic job with the Bills, obviously bringing it to a 9-7 record, and then gets fired, and then gets hired as an offensive line coach, when he's by far a better coach than Gus Bradley is in terms of a head coach. Gus Bradley's a good defensive coordinator. He's not a good head coach. So I think we have one division left. And that is the AFC West. This is the strongest division in the AFC. It's not even close. They have teams like, probably, if you can make an argument, the best division in the National Football League. They have teams like Kansas City. Kansas City needs a better. And you know what? I read an article about this. I can't remember where it was. I think this was on NFL. It may have been Greg Rochelle, or however you say his name. He wrote an article. And how teams could improve themselves, and I agree with him 100% on this. They need to get rid of Alex Smith, because you look at this defense. D4, Justin Houston, Tom Bahali, who's aging, but it's still completely. He's like Thomas Davis. They're just still that good. They have a secondary with Eric Berry, Marcus Peters. They have such a good defense and so many playmakers on this defense. You flip it to the offensive side of the football. You have people like Tyreek Hill, who's been a rookie phenom. He's out here looking like Gale Sayers, for God's sakes. You have Spencer Ware, who had a very good season. He was really hot early on in the season. He was on fire. And now in Alex Smith's defense, I really don't think they have a number one receiver. Tyreek Hill's more of a jack of all trades. You look at Jeremy Maclin, and you're like, now I can't stay healthy. Still don't think he's the number one guy. Chris Conley is like a number 3 guy. And I don't even think he's a number 2. But they have people like Travis Kelce. Totally forgot to mention Travis Kelce. I don't know how I did. And you have people like Andy Reid, who's one of the better, probably top 3, top 4 head coach in the NFL. So it just boggles my mind how like so many playmakers on this team, and they just can't get over the hump. And they need, I have been an Alex Smith fan, and I know that sounds crapping crazy. Since the days when I became an Alex Smith fan was the playoff game against the Saints, where he threw it to Vernon Davis for the touchdown, and obviously he ran the touchdown in himself. That was one of the funnest games I've ever seen. It's that game will make somebody fall in love with football, and that game was beautiful. But I just think and it hurts me to say it, but I do think they need to improve the quarterback position. So let's go to the Oakland Raiders, who had one heck of a year. And as Raiders fans, they've been in purgatory. Not even purgatory. They've been they've been in the NFL, I guess you could say. With the rich history of the Oakland Raiders, and their fans who are so loyal. They're probably the most loyal fans in sports, to be honest with you, other than Cubs fans probably. And maybe Cleveland fans, maybe. Cleveland fans are very loyal. I didn't mean to sound like I'm being sarcastic. They're actually really loyal. But Raiders fans, man, it's always packed. Doesn't matter how bad the team is. And just to resurrect a franchise with Derek Carr and the job that he did, going out and get Kelechi Osemele, Rodney Houston, I don't know how you say his name. You go out and get Michael Crabtree to pair with Amari Cooper. You go out, you draft Walford and a beast of a tight end. You go out and you get some guy named Olawale, who's a playmaker himself. You get Latavius. Obviously, Latavius Murray's been around a long time, but You get the kid, the young kid at the draft whose name's escaping me right now. You have that three-headed monster in the backfield, and it's just amazing to me. Cleo Mack, it's not nice to see because I'm a Dolphins fan. Don't want that good of a team in the AFC to have to play them, but it's just nice to see that because if anybody deserves it, it's Raiders fans, and it's true, man. It's true. And I think Dolphins deserve it more, and Dolphins fans deserve it more for sure. But yeah, again, you can take that with a grain of salt. But again, the Raiders have a bright future. They need to fix the secondary. They definitely need to get a playmaker in that secondary. I think Carl Joseph can be that guy, but I'm talking about for cornerback. I think more specifically. I like David Amerson, DJ Hayden. They have people there. I just don't think they're stars. And they can definitely be exposed in a playoff game, let's say against Brady. That's just not going to hold up. So they need to definitely go out there and get themselves a corner. Next is the Denver Broncos, who this makes me laugh because first of all, the overhypeness of apparently people considered a god, John Elway, and he didn't pay Brock that much. This was early on in the season when they're actually winning games, but they didn't pay Brock that much. Trevor Simeon's out here throwing dots, man, and obviously it all went downhill from there. If it wasn't for the Chargers getting hurt all season, just kept getting smacked in the mouth with injuries, they would have finished last in their division, and I don't even think it's a question. And I'm not a Broncos hater. I don't. You have two. It makes me upset more than anything. You have two. First of all, one of the better head coaches in the NFL who just retired. You just retained. First of all, good thing John Elway's smart. You just got Vance Joseph, who is one of the best young coaches in the NFL right now, which is a good thing. But Trevor Simeon, he's got two of the best receivers, probably the best receiver combo in the NFL. And you still can't move the ball. I don't care how bad. First of all, that offensive line is nowhere near as bad as, let's say, a Dolphins offensive line, a Panthers offensive line, a Vikings offensive line. Is nowhere near. Nowhere near. I don't want to hear you guys whine about it. I don't hear any Broncos fan whine about it. This is why Trevor Simeon is bad, who hasn't performed. It's nowhere near that bad. Okay? Nowhere near that bad. And it just makes me upset every time I hear it. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's not good. It's not good. I'll give you that. It's not good. But it's not that bad. And obviously they're in a division where pass rushers are king. So I understand you guys' your feelings. I understand that. Trust me. I understand that more than Dolphins fans understand that more than any other fan. But if they can go out, they can get an elite quarterback, or at least a serviceable one. I think Trevor Simeon's. I'm not gonna say he's not serviceable. But in that division, you need somebody who can win you a game in a tough situation, in a divisional road game in Arrowhead, in LA Coliseum, up in Oaktown. You gotta get somebody, man, who can take that environment. Like I said, Raiders fans, Chargers fans not as much, I guess, but Chiefs fans, those are some tough places to play. You gotta get somebody who's good. And so that's my 2 cents on that. If they go out and get Tony Romo and they try to maybe move some parts around on that offensive line because it is deep at guard. They need tackles more. But John Elway's got to figure that out. I'm sure he'll make a play for Tony Romo. The players kind of talking candidly about that. That goes to show you how much they care about Trevor Simeon. Sitting here talking about we would love to play with Tony Romo. If you guys had a franchise quarterback, that would not be said. San Diego Chargers. I'm not hating. You guys have to fix one problem, and it's the quarterback position, and then you're fine. You're fine after that. You're a playoff team. So don't come crying to me if you can't take this criticism. Not like 1,000 people, like not a lot of people are going to watch this anyway, but my point is don't cry to me in the comment section about Trevor Simeon. Don't want to hear it. Okay? Don't want to hear it. San Diego Chargers. Last but not least. This episode has gone on way long. It's about almost 40 minutes. This will be the longest episode ever on my channel. The San Diego Chargers. Now, when I think of the San Diego Chargers, I think of unfortunism, which isn't even a word, but it's very unfortunate what happened to them. Phillip Rivers, late in his career, if I would like to see anybody wondering, it would probably be him, other than Ryan Tannehill. It would go Ryan Tannehill, Jarvis Landry, Cameron Wake, Devontae Parker, Rashard Jones, and just the list. Adam Gase, the list. Clyde Christensen. The list goes on and on. Darren Rizzi. Then somewhere in there, and it's gonna be pushed way back. I'm putting this Philip Rivers there and Antonio Gates, because what they've accomplished over his career, it's disgusting how underrated he is. And I'm pretty sure out of all three of the Hall of Fame quarterbacks that were in his draft, he's the only one that doesn't have a ring. Big Ben, Eli, and obviously Philip. So yeah, it's unfortunate. And obviously they were just Stevie Johnson going down, Keenan Allen going down. They have an outstanding young player in Hunter Henry, and Melvin Gordon, from all the crap he took in his rookie season, to come out swinging like he did is very impressive. Their offensive line is pretty bad. It probably needs to be fixed for sure. Philip Rivers, you see the turnovers he had in the fourth quarter. He was throwing to nobody basically. Tyrell Williams, Dontrell Inman, I like him. I like Tyrell Williams a lot too. Just not that. That's not Stevie Johnson, and that's not Keenan Allen out there. This is my point. So, and they have a lot of young talent there. Defensively, they have an important offseason. I would expect them to lose some players though. They went out and they got Casey Hayward, who's been a godsend, but Melvin Ingram, I don't think he's staying. I think he's leaving. So yeah, unless you guys, I don't know if you guys can franchise him, tag him or not. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. In closing, the AFC is, for a lot of teams, the future is bright. You got a long list of young, talented, put butts in seats teams that are going to be so fun to watch this upcoming season. Can't wait for this the 2017 season to start. It's going to be awesome, man. I mean, you got teams like the Dolphins, who I think are going to have one of the most fun offenses to watch. You got teams like the Titans. You got teams like the Raiders. You got teams like even the Colts, who it's just fun to watch Andrew Luck tossing around the crap in football field. You got teams like the Chargers, who it's just fun to watch Philip Rivers. It's so many young talented teams also. And yeah, the future is bright for the AFC. And that's going to be it, guys. I'm Skagster 83, and I'll see you guys in the next one.